Issue 8 is at the end of the page, and there's a bit of a blank. There might be a typo here because the space for a point seems to be missing, and then on the next page at the top there's a point. So check out whether or not there's a point missing. But at the top of the next page, the point is, throughout my experience with this trust, there has been a lack of diagnostic approach assessment. Instead, there seems to be a one-size-fits-all approach. Everyone seems to be the one thing all the time, schizophrenic. Do you agree that there has to be a variation in order to be diagnostic, and that, well, basically, what's fashionable shouldn't affect the variation? In terms of psychiatry, things coming in and out of fashion, etc. The clinical notes and reports related to you, related to your hospital admission in 2012 indicates that staff were well aware of the possible additional or alternative diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome during the course of your admission. The clinical notes upon admission. Could I have a copy of those clinical notes upon admission? Okay, Dr. Jolly's been very good here. In response to what was said before. It's not the case that all patients under the care of the trust are diagnosed as suffering from schizophrenia. Dr. Jolly's requested information from the trust's IT department to provide an anonymised breakdown of the diagnosis of patients in care. The trust's local services, which will show that there is a wide range of diagnoses made. Now, it says anonymised breakdown. I've been in contact with Dr. Jolly by email, and I would like that anonymised breakdown to be compiled, and I'd like you to show over the next 10 years per year how many cases of people have been diagnosed as adults. Okay, Dr. Jolly was very good on this particular point. I'd send him some information as how he might display what he sends me, but it says about the demands of the IT department. I'm not going to get the information immediately now. That was 2 months ago, and I thought you could just press a button and get the information instantly off the computer. I believe that the delay has been too long, and at this stage I'd like to get the information in a timely fashion, just for Dr. Jolly to tell me how he's going to display the information and when I'm going to get it, and for it not to be an anonymised breakdown, but for it to basically be compiled in a way that's more meaningful and show the total diagnosis of, I don't know, autistic spectrum disorder, Asperger's syndrome, over the last 10 years as a proportion of what's there overall, and also schizophrenia and paranoid schizophrenia. But even if what I especially want is autistic. Okay, the next bit in the text is, in order to make a reliable diagnosis for conditions such as schizophrenia, it's become recognised in recent years that it's important to have information not only on the pattern of symptoms at a particular point in time, but at the ebb and flow of the symptoms, etc. And for this reason, since the early inception of the early intervention and psychosis services, patients suffering from psychotic symptoms, you wait for 3 years until after you make an assessment on somebody suffering from psychotic symptoms. Now, I'd like to know, if you wait 3 years and you observe psychotic symptoms or whatever, how does that assessment compare to the Maudsley way of assessing people for an illness such as schizophrenia? Because they sit you down for 5 hours and they give you an intensive assessment. On this, you just see someone and you get information back here and there from a social worker, and then in the fullness of time you make that decision. Also, if you're making decisions 3 years after, could I have an account of when a person first goes in and exhibits signs of something like schizophrenia, how that is noted, and then there's a 3-year delay, and after that, how a diagnosis comes about and is noted. In other words, looking at people for initial signs of schizophrenia and see if there's a 3-year delay until a diagnosis, if that's how you do it. And also compare how you do it. Look out for schizophrenia compared to places such as the Maudsley, how your assessment is different to theirs, and how that holds up. Ask the Maudsley what they think of your assessment process, basically, because theirs is different to yours. And there seems to become some confusion over which is the right way to do it. And I'm sure you're doing it the right way, but maybe just contact the Maudsley for learning curve